Who's to say that the boy would be happier your way or mine? Why not let him decide?
No, I'm afraid it don't work that way. You can't let a young'un decide for himself.
Behind Mayberry's wholesome facade lurked some truly bizarre secrets. Fans constantly mailed real bullets to Don Knotts. Nobody knows who played the mysterious Mr. Schwamp. And Andy Griffith slept in dresser drawers as a baby because his family was too poor for a crib. From hidden prop men throwing rocks to stroke-affected actors being secretly supported by special stands, this beloved show had more weird behind-the-scenes moments than you'd ever imagine. Here are 15 weird facts you didn't know about the Andy Griffith Show. Fact 1. Mystery Man. Mr. Schwamp.
Mr. Schwamp? Andy?
One of the most enduring mysteries surrounding the Andy Griffith Show involves a peculiar recurring character that fans have been trying to identify for more than 60 years. Throughout the series, run from 1960 to 1968, a middle-aged man with dark hair that was obviously a toupee would mysteriously appear in random episodes, usually sitting quietly on a park bench or blending into crowd scenes during larger gatherings in Mayberry. The character became known as Mr. Schwamp because whenever Andy Taylor or Deputy Barney Fife spotted him, they would politely acknowledge him with a simple, "Hello, Mr. Schwamp," and the man would respond with nothing more than a friendly nod and smile before the scene continued. He never spoke a single word throughout his appearances, making him one of television's most enigmatic background characters. What makes this situation truly bizarre is that despite decades of investigation by dedicated fans and television historians, nobody has ever been able to definitively identify the actor who played Mr. Schwamp. The character appeared in multiple episodes of The Andy Griffith Show and even showed up in 2 episodes of the spin-off series Gomer Pyle, USMC, yet his name never appeared in any credits, and no cast or crew members have ever come forward to reveal his identity. The mystery became such a phenomenon among fans that the Andy Griffith Show Rerun Watchers Club actually staged an elaborate April Fool's Day prank in 2012, claiming they had finally discovered that the actor was a man named Patch S. Wimmers. However, this turned out to be completely fictional, and the real identity of Mr. Schwamp remains one of classic television's most fascinating unsolved puzzles, with amateur detectives still debating his true identity on internet forums today. Fact 2. Fans mailed Don Knotts bullets.
On your marks, get set!
Don Knotts received one of the strangest types of fan mail in television history during his time playing Deputy Barney Fife on The Andy Griffith Show. Viewers were apparently so bothered by the running joke that Sheriff Andy Taylor only allowed his bumbling deputy to carry a single bullet in his shirt pocket that they decided to take matters into their own hands by mailing real ammunition directly to the actor. The character of Barney Fife was designed as comic relief, with his nervous fumbling and overconfident attitude creating perfect comedy when paired with his extreme limitation of having just one bullet for emergencies. This safety measure made complete sense given Barney's tendency to accidentally fire his weapon into courthouse ceilings or while it was still holstered, but fans across America seemed genuinely concerned about the deputy's lack of proper firepower. According to author Daniel DeVise, who wrote about the show's behind-the-scenes stories in his book about the friendship between Andy Griffith and Don Knotts, police officers were particularly frequent contributors to this unusual mail campaign. Actress Dodie Brown, who worked with the cast, described how law enforcement officials would regularly approach Knotts during public appearances and present him with bullets as gifts, apparently feeling a professional obligation to properly arm a fellow officer, even a fictional one. The popularity of Barney Fife created massive crowds wherever Don Knotts appeared in public, with fans literally lining up for 3 city blocks just to get his autograph. During these marathon signing sessions, every single person seemed to claim they were his biggest fan, and police officers would inevitably show up carrying ammunition as their contribution to solving Barney's perpetual bullet shortage, creating quite a collection of unwanted weaponry for the bewildered actor. Fact 3. Hidden rock thrower in opening.
You stand back, Max. Just stand back. Stand aside, deputy. I'm going to break that glass. No, you ain't. You think? No, you ain't. Now you drop that rock and you get over here.
The iconic opening credits of The Andy Griffith Show feature one of television's most beloved images: Sheriff Andy Taylor and his young son Opie walking down a dirt path toward a peaceful lake, fishing poles in hand, with little Opie skipping a stone across the water's surface. However, this charming moment required some behind-the-scenes movie magic that viewers never suspected, involving a hidden crew member and a carefully orchestrated deception. The famous scene was filmed at Franklin Canyon Park, located at the eastern end of the Santa Monica Mountains in California, which served as the show's outdoor fishing location throughout the series. When it came time to film young Ron Howard throwing the stone into the lake, the production team quickly discovered they had a significant problem on their hands that threatened to derail the entire opening sequence. 6-year-old Ron Howard, who played Opie Taylor, simply wasn't physically strong enough to throw a rock far enough to reach the water from where the cameras were positioned. After several failed attempts that left the young actor frustrated and the crew running behind schedule, the assistant director came up with a creative solution that would become one of the show's best-kept production secrets. The crew decided to hide a prop man behind a nearby bush, positioned at just the right angle to remain completely out of the camera's view during filming. When the scene rolled, Ron Howard would go through the motions of throwing the stone, while the hidden prop man simultaneously hurled the actual rock into the lake, creating the splash that viewers see in the opening credits. If you watch the opening sequence very carefully today, you can actually notice a very subtle timing lag between the moment when Opie appears to release the stone and when the splash occurs on the water's surface. Fact 4. Floyd's secret stroke support system.
Are you he?
Well, yes, ma'am. I am the proprietor. Floyd Lawson, proprietor. That's he. That's me.
In early 1963, during the 3rd season of The Andy Griffith Show, actor Howard McNear, who played the beloved barber Floyd Lawson, suffered a massive stroke that left the entire left side of his body paralyzed and unable to function normally. The medical emergency forced him to leave the show for nearly a year and 3/4, creating a noticeable absence in Mayberry that both fans and the production team felt deeply. When Andy Griffith and the show's producers were working on scripts that desperately needed comic relief, they realized how much they missed Howard McNear's unique contribution to the show's chemistry. Producer Aaron Rubin famously said during a script meeting, "Boy, do I wish we had Howard," which prompted the team to call McNear's home to see if he might be interested in returning to work despite his significant physical limitations. McNear's wife told the producers that returning to work would be a godsend for her husband, who had recovered mentally from the stroke but remained physically impaired. The production team made an extraordinary commitment to accommodate the actor's needs, demonstrating remarkable compassion and creativity that was unusual for television productions in the 1960s. The show's crew built special chairs that allowed McNear to sit comfortably during filming, and they constructed hidden standing supports that could prop him up behind the barber chair when scenes required Floyd to appear upright. Andy Griffith explained that they could show McNear sitting, or we built him a stand that supported him, so he could then stand behind the barber chair and use one hand. If you watch Floyd's appearances in seasons 4 through 7, you'll notice he's almost always seated on a bench outside his barber shop or in other locations around Mayberry, with his left hand typically holding a newspaper or resting motionless in his lap, while he gestured only with his right arm. Fact 5. Andy Griffith slept in dresser drawers.
Hereby declare you official temporary deputies of the Mayberry Police Force. At ease. That means you can put your hands down.
Long before Andy Griffith became one of America's most beloved television stars, he experienced the harsh realities of poverty during the Great Depression in a way that shaped his understanding of small-town struggles and simple living. Born in Mount Airy, North Carolina in 1926, Griffith came into the world during one of the most economically challenging periods in American history, when even basic necessities were luxuries that many families simply could not afford. The Griffith family's financial situation was so desperate during Andy's earliest years that they couldn't afford to purchase a proper crib for their newborn son, leaving his parents to find creative solutions for where their baby would sleep safely and comfortably. Instead of having a traditional nursery setup like more affluent families, Andy's parents converted dresser drawers into makeshift sleeping quarters, lining them with soft blankets and pillows to create a cozy sleeping space for their infant. This unusual sleeping arrangement wasn't just a temporary measure, but became Andy's regular sleeping situation during his early childhood, demonstrating just how severe the economic hardship was for working-class families throughout the rural South during the 1920s and early 30s. The experience of growing up in such modest circumstances gave Griffith an authentic connection to the kind of humble, resourceful characters he would later portray on television. Both Andy Griffith and his future co-star Don Knotts shared similar backgrounds of growing up in poverty during the Great Depression, which helped create the genuine friendship and understanding between them that viewers could sense on screen. This shared experience of economic hardship during their formative years contributed to their ability to portray characters who found happiness and humor in simple pleasures, making their performances feel authentic rather than condescending when depicting small-town life and modest living situations. Fact 6. The theme song had lyrics.
That badge means something. Don't any of you disgrace it.
I won't, sir.
Did you have permission to talk?
One of the most recognizable television theme songs in history is the cheerful whistling melody that opens every episode of The Andy Griffith Show, but most fans have no idea that this iconic tune was originally intended to be sung with actual words rather than whistled. The song, officially titled The Fishin' Hole, was composed by Earl Hagen and Herbert Spencer, with lyrics written by Everett Sloan, creating a complete musical piece that told a story about the simple pleasures of fishing and small-town life. During the show's development process, the creative team had to make a crucial decision about whether to use the vocal version with lyrics or stick with the instrumental whistling arrangement that audiences came to know and love. The producers ultimately decided that the whistling melody captured the show's easygoing, nostalgic charm much more effectively than having someone sing the words, feeling that the simple, unhurried sound of whistling better matched the relaxed pace of life in Mayberry. Earl Hagen himself performed the distinctive whistling that became synonymous with the show's opening and closing credits, creating one of the most memorable musical signatures in television history. His whistling perfectly complemented the peaceful images of Andy and Opie walking to their fishing spot, establishing the show's tone before a single word of dialogue was spoken. Despite the producer's decision to go with the whistled version, Andy Griffith actually did record a complete vocal rendition of The Fishin' Hole with all the original lyrics intact, and this rare version can still be found today on various music platforms and video sharing websites. For longtime fans of the show, hearing Andy Griffith actually singing the familiar melody provides a fascinating glimpse into what the opening credits might have sounded like if the producers had made a different creative choice during the show's early development. Fact 7. Barney's bullet loading error.
You see, if you're not familiar with firearms, these babies can go off. Now...
Throughout the Andy Griffith Show's 8-season run, Deputy Barney Fife's handling of his single bullet became one of the series' most memorable running gags, but the way Don Knotts consistently loaded that bullet into his revolver contained a significant technical error that gun enthusiasts have noticed for decades. Every time Barney nervously fumbled to load his one precious bullet during moments of perceived danger, he would always place it directly into the chamber that was perfectly aligned with the gun's barrel, apparently believing this was the correct way to prepare his weapon for immediate use. The problem with this approach becomes obvious when you understand how revolvers actually function in real life. When a shooter either cocks the hammer back or pulls the trigger on a revolver, the cylinder automatically rotates to position the next chamber in line with the barrel, which means that Barney's carefully placed bullet would immediately move out of the firing position and into the next chamber over, leaving him with an empty chamber ready to fire instead of his loaded one. This mechanical reality means that if Barney ever actually tried to shoot his gun after loading it in his typical manner, he would end up pulling the trigger on an empty chamber and would have to keep pulling the trigger repeatedly until the cylinder rotated all the way around to bring his loaded chamber back into the firing position. The show's writers and prop masters either didn't understand revolver mechanics or chose to ignore them for the sake of visual comedy, since having Barney load the bullet directly into the visible chamber looked more dramatic and clear to television audiences than showing the proper loading technique. This frequent mistake became such a notable part of the show that it was even turned into a major plot point during the first season episode called Andy and the Gentleman Crook, where the faulty loading method actually affected the storyline and created additional comedic situations for the bumbling deputy. Fact 8. Only 3 shows ended at number 1.
Now you want to pass me because you're in a hurry. Now what do you do?
I go, beep, beep, out of the way, Sunday driver. Come back here, stop it. Cut that out.
The Andy Griffith Show accomplished something that is virtually impossible in modern television and has only been achieved by 2 other series in the entire history of American broadcasting. When the show aired its final episode on April 1st, 1968, it was sitting at the number 1 position in the Nielsen television ratings, meaning it was the most watched program in the country at the exact moment when Andy Griffith and the producers decided to end the series voluntarily. Most television shows follow a predictable pattern where their popularity gradually declines over time, forcing networks to cancel them when ratings drop too low to justify the production costs. But the Andy Griffith Show defied this trend completely. Throughout its entire 8-season run from 1960 to 1968, the series never fell below 7th place in the yearly television ratings, demonstrating remarkable consistency that kept audiences engaged year after year without any significant loss of viewership. The decision to end the show while it was still performing so well was entirely voluntary, made by Andy Griffith himself rather than being forced by declining ratings or network pressure. This incredibly rare achievement has only been matched by 2 other television series in American history. I Love Lucy, which ended its run at number 1 in 1957, and Seinfeld, which also concluded while holding the top ratings position in 1998. The rarity of this accomplishment becomes even more impressive when you consider how many thousands of television series have been produced over the decades. Yet only these 3 shows managed to maintain such strong audience loyalty and cultural relevance that their creators felt confident enough to walk away from guaranteed success. The Andy Griffith Show's reruns continued to be popular for more than 50 years after the original series ended, proving that the decision to conclude on a high note was the right choice. Fact 9. Andy punched a wall.
Stop.
Well, I see, that's not our fault.
No, that's not our fault. It's your fault. You started the whole blame thing.
During the production of the Andy Griffith Show's 2nd season, Andy Griffith experienced a moment of intense frustration that led to a painful injury requiring creative storytelling from the show's writers and producers. While filming at the studio, Griffith became so angry about something happening on set that he lost his temper completely and punched a wall with enough force to break bones in his hand, creating an immediate problem for the production team, who now had their lead actor sporting a serious injury that would be visible on camera. The exact cause of Griffith's anger has never been fully revealed in interviews or behind-the-scenes accounts, but the aftermath of his wall-punching incident was impossible to hide, since his hand required heavy medical bandaging that would be clearly noticeable during filming. Rather than halt production or try to shoot around the injury by keeping his hand out of camera shots, the show's creative team decided to incorporate Griffith's real-life injury directly into the storyline of Sheriff Andy Taylor. The writers quickly developed an explanation that would make sense within the context of the show's fictional world, creating dialogue and references suggesting that Sheriff Taylor had injured his hand while heroically apprehending some dangerous criminals in the line of duty. This cover story sounded much more impressive and appropriate for the character than admitting that the beloved small-town sheriff had simply lost his temper and attacked a piece of studio equipment during a moment of professional frustration. The incident demonstrates that even during the production of television's most wholesome and peaceful series, real-world tensions and pressures could occasionally boil over into moments of genuine conflict. For viewers watching those second-season episodes today, Andy Griffith's heavily bandaged hand serves as a visible reminder that the calm, wise sheriff they saw on screen was played by a human being who sometimes struggled with the same kinds of anger and frustration that affect everyone. Fact 10. Francis Bavier called to apologize.
They're just up to the preacher's wives now.
Oh, I'm so excited I just can't stand it.
Oh, now ain't be. Calm yourself.
Frances Bavier, the actress who portrayed the warm and motherly Aunt Bee on The Andy Griffith Show, came from a completely different background than the humble, small-town character she played on television. Born into a well-to-do family in New York City, Bavier had attended prestigious institutions like Columbia University and the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, giving her a sophisticated education and refined sensibilities that were quite different from the folksy charm she displayed as Aunt Bee. This contrast between her real personality and her television character created ongoing tension during the show's production, particularly in her working relationship with Andy Griffith, who was known for being a natural jokester and prankster on set. Bavier reportedly had very little sense of humor and didn't appreciate Griffith's constant antics, practical jokes, and light-hearted approach to filming, finding his behavior unprofessional and disruptive to her serious approach to acting. The personality clash between the two lead actors created a somewhat tense atmosphere during filming, with Bavier often appearing annoyed or frustrated by Griffith's playful behavior while he continued to treat the set like a place for fun and camaraderie. This professional friction was noticeable to other cast members and crew, though both actors remained committed to their performances and never allowed their personal differences to affect the quality of the show. However, the story took a touching turn many years later when Frances Bavier reached out to Andy Griffith during her final years. Shortly before her death in 1989, she made a phone call to Griffith in which she apologized for being difficult during their time working together on the series. This gesture of reconciliation demonstrated that despite their professional differences, Bavier had come to realize the importance of their shared experience and wanted to make peace with her former co-star before it was too late. Fact 11. Opie's name honored a musician.
I was holding my breath.
Good lung exercise. But don't get your clothes all dirty.
The name Opie for Ron Howard's character on The Andy Griffith Show wasn't chosen randomly or created from scratch by the show's writers, but instead served as a tribute to a real musician from America's swing era who had made a lasting impression on both Andy Griffith and the show's producer. Opie Cates was a prominent bandleader and clarinet player who achieved considerable fame during the 1930s and 1940s, leading his own orchestra and performing the kind of popular music that defined an entire generation of American entertainment. During the height of his career, Opie Cates became well known throughout the music industry for his skilled clarinet playing and his ability to lead a successful dance band that performed at venues across the country. His music was the type that people would hear on radio broadcasts and at live performances in ballrooms and clubs, making him a recognizable figure in the world of popular entertainment during those decades when big band music dominated American culture. Both Andy Griffith and producer Sheldon Leonard were genuine fans of Opie Cates and his musical contributions, having grown up listening to his performances and appreciating the artistry he brought to his clarinet playing and band leading. When it came time to choose a name for the young son character in their new television series, they decided to honor the musician whose work had provided them with so much enjoyment over the years. This naming choice reflects the deep appreciation that people in the entertainment industry often have for the artists who came before them and influenced their own careers. By naming Ron Howard's character after Opie Cates, Griffith and Leonard created a subtle but meaningful connection between their television show and the rich musical heritage of American popular culture, ensuring that the band leader's name would continue to be remembered by future generations of television viewers. Fact 12. First black actor with speaking role.
One of yours is sure a good football player.
I'm glad to hear that. I really am. But he's decided he wants to be a good piano player, too.
Well, there's sure nothing wrong with that.
The Andy Griffith Show reflected the social realities and limitations of television programming during the 1960s, particularly regarding racial representation on mainstream American television. Throughout the series' entire 8-season run from 1960 to 1968, several African-American actors appeared in various episodes as background extras and crowd members, but they were consistently given only non-speaking roles that kept them visible in scenes without allowing them to participate in the show's dialogue or storylines. This pattern of background inclusion without meaningful participation was common across most television programming of that era. When networks and producers were cautious about featuring black actors in prominent speaking roles that might alienate viewers in certain parts of the country. The show's creators seemed to walk a careful line between acknowledging the presence of African American residents in their fictional North Carolina town, while avoiding any storylines or character interactions that might be considered controversial by television standards of the time. However, this long-standing pattern was finally broken during the episode titled Opie's Piano Lesson, when actor Rockne Tarkington became the first and only African-American performer to speak actual dialogue during the entire run of The Andy Griffith Show. Tarkington's appearance marked a small but historically significant moment in the series, representing the sole instance when a black actor was given lines to deliver rather than simply appearing silently in background scenes. The fact that only one African-American actor was given speaking lines across 249 episodes demonstrates how restrictive television representation was during this period of American history. While the show featured many recurring characters and guest stars over its 8-year run, Rockne Tarkington's brief speaking role in Opie's Piano Lesson stands as a unique moment that would likely be considered tokenistic by today's standards, but represented a rare exception to the industry practices of the 1960s. Fact 13. Barney's changing middle name.
Now, the minute it looks like there's gonna be trouble, we got to nip it! Nip it in the bud! You get that?
Deputy Barney Fife's full name became one of the Andy Griffith Show's most confusing continuity errors, with the writers apparently forgetting what they had previously established about the character's middle name and changing it multiple times throughout the series without any explanation. This kind of inconsistency was more common in television during the 1960s, when shows didn't have the same level of detailed record-keeping and continuity supervision that modern productions maintain to avoid contradicting previously established character information. During the first season episode titled A Plaque for Mayberry, the character's middle name was clearly established as Oliver, making his full name Bernard Oliver Fife. This seemed to be the official version of the character's name during the show's early episodes, and viewers who paid close attention to dialogue would have understood this to be Barney's complete legal name as it appeared on official documents within the show's fictional world. However, by the time the third season episode, Class Reunion, aired, the writers had apparently forgotten their earlier decision and gave Barney a completely different middle name, calling him Milton instead of Oliver. This change wasn't addressed or explained within the storyline, leaving viewers who remembered the earlier reference wondering whether the character had somehow changed his name or if the writers had simply made an error. The confusion continued to evolve as the series progressed, with later episodes establishing that Barney's middle name began with the letter P, though the exact name was never clearly specified in dialogue. By this point, the character had gone through at least 3 different middle names throughout the series, creating a continuity problem that sharp-eyed fans noticed, but that never affected the show's popularity or the character's appeal, since most viewers weren't keeping track of such specific details across multiple seasons. Fact 14. 48-star flag blooper.
You ready? Let her rip!
During the 4th season episode titled Barney's Sidecar, which aired in January 1964, Deputy Barney Fife proudly rode around Mayberry on his motorcycle, equipped with small American flags attached to the handlebars. But the prop department made a significant historical error that sharp-eyed viewers have noticed over the decades. The flags displayed on Barney's motorcycle showed only 48 stars, representing the number of states that existed before Alaska and Hawaii joined the Union, even though the episode was filmed and broadcast 4 years after the current 50-star flag had become the official American flag. The United States had added its 49th star to represent Alaska in January 1959, followed by the 50th star for Hawaii in July 1960, creating the current flag design that Americans recognize today. By the time Barney's Sidecar was produced and aired in 1964, the 50-star flag had been the official American flag for nearly 4 years, making the appearance of the outdated 48-star version a clear anachronism that didn't match the show's contemporary setting. This type of prop error was more common during television's early decades, when production teams had smaller budgets and less attention to historical accuracy than modern shows typically maintain. The mistake likely occurred because the prop department either had old flag decorations left over from before 1960 or purchased inexpensive replicas that hadn't been updated to reflect the current flag design, without anyone on the production team noticing the discrepancy before filming. The blooper demonstrates how even the most beloved and well-produced television series could contain small historical inaccuracies that went unnoticed during production, but became obvious to viewers who watched the episodes years later with more critical attention to period details and historical accuracy than audiences typically applied during the show's original broadcast run. Fact 15. Floyd's glasses had a mind.
Rich! Just see for Rich!
During the 4th season episode titled The Rumor, Floyd the Barber became the unwitting star of one of the Andy Griffith Show's most noticeable continuity errors, when his eyeglasses appeared to magically transform themselves between different camera shots within the same scene. This type of mistake was particularly unusual for the show, which generally maintained good attention to visual consistency, despite being produced during an era when television editing was done manually, and continuity supervision was less rigorous than it would become in later decades. The error occurs during a scene where Floyd is engaged in conversation with other characters, and viewers who watch closely can observe that he begins the scene wearing one particular style of eyeglasses with distinct characteristics like black frames and thick, straight temples. However, when the camera angle changes to show Floyd from a different perspective, his glasses have somehow been replaced by a completely different pair that features lighter-colored frames with curved tips, creating a jarring visual inconsistency that makes it appear as though his eyeglasses change themselves between shots. This kind of continuity mistake typically happens when scenes are filmed out of sequence or over multiple days, and actors accidentally wear different versions of their costume or props without anyone on the production team noticing the discrepancy. In Floyd's case, it's likely that actor Howard McNear either brought multiple pairs of glasses to the set, or that the wardrobe department had several similar but not identical pairs available, leading to the mix-up that created this memorable blooper. The glasses continuity error in The Rumor has become a favorite discovery among dedicated fans of the series who enjoy spotting such mistakes, demonstrating how even the most carefully produced television shows from the 1960s contained small errors that slipped past editors and became permanent parts of the episodes that viewers continue to notice and discuss decades later.